Scorpions may not be the heaviest band out there, yet they definitely have some of the biggest balls in the world of rock and metal. At the very beginning of the war in Ukraine, Scorpions were one of the very first bands who publicly announced that black is black and white is white, without falling into any vague definitions of what black actually is, or exploring the depth of post-truth, saying that blackness is actually relative, and what may be black for someone is actually white for somebody else. And thus my personal respect for the German legends of hard rock and heavy metal has grown enormously in the past month or so. And if by any chance you're actually wondering why did I decide to single out Scorpions and not talk about other bands in this video, my answer would be twofold. Number one, yes, definitely, there are many other bands who supported Ukraine publicly, and I am equally thankful to each and every one of those. And thus I'd like to announce that this video is going to be just the very first one, and later on I actually hope to dedicate more and more videos to different bands from all over the world who are not afraid to publicly call out the truth for what it is. Number two actually relates to the fact that some people might not actually understand how popular were Scorpions in Russia up to a month ago. After gaining popularity in Europe in the 1970s, Scorpions released their breakthrough album Blackout, which I personally still believe is the greatest album the band has ever done, which of course has opened the doors for them for the market of the United States and Canada and increased their popularity beyond their native continent. And yet the biggest growth of the fan base for Scorpions was actually not even during the 80s, but during the 90s, because unlike many other hard rock and heavy metal bands in the 1990s, Scorpions decided to not fight grunge, but instead explore the new markets. And given the fact that by then they already have released their famous Wind of Change and gained, some ground popularity in the post-Soviet Union countries, Scorpions actually continued touring the world rather successfully in the 1990s, with Russia becoming the #1 market for them in the entire world. And so when the war has come, Scorpions were actually on a crossroads in which they decided whether they should follow their heart and say what they actually believe in, or keep their biggest market and allow themselves to successfully tour in Russia after this madness ends. And unlike many of the other bands, whose fan base vastly consists of Russian audience, Scorpions were not afraid to say what they actually believe in, and even more. They continue doing so on almost a daily basis and spread the word, spread awareness about what actually is going on in Ukraine, and even changed the lyrics of their most famous song, Wind of Change, dedicating it to the war in Ukraine.
Now listen to my heart, it says Ukrainian, waiting for the wind to change.
And so on behalf of all Ukrainian rockers and metalheads, and on behalf of everyone who actually values freedom in the world, I'd like to publicly thank Scorpions for not falling into the web of commercialism and basing their decisions solely on the size of a market, because let's face it, Ukraine is a much smaller market when it comes to music than Russia, yet having the balls to stand for what they actually believe in. And of course we will be more than happy to welcome you guys back in Kyiv once again once we win this war. Oh, and last but not least, guys, thank you so much to all of you who've ordered a Metal Pilgrim t-shirt or a hoodie to support the show and me personally and Ukrainian army. As you might know, all of my stock got caught in Kyiv and I was not able to, get hold of it, but I finally got them, so I'll make sure to send out t-shirts and hoodies which you've ordered in the past month, and thank you so much once again. And in addition to that, I'd like to thank Bonfire, who provided a free design for our show, which allowed me to launch a new line of merch, all of the profits from which of course will be donated directly to the volunteer efforts to support Ukrainian army, 100% of it. And so if you guys were looking for ways to support the army, support me, the show and everything, I'll leave all of the links in the pinned comment. And meanwhile, thank you so much for sticking with me. I hope that we will go back to making heavy metal videos very, very soon. We will prevail. Slava Ukraini!